Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about centering and grounding. Like me, the last 5 or 6 months have been incredibly trying from an emotional standpoint. We all struggle with feelings of fear and anxiety, possibly some anger, and these start to take an emotional toll on us. Regardless of your spiritual beliefs or your religious path, we can all recognize and accept that humans are energetic beings. And as we expose ourselves to these overwhelming emotions over and over again, it can take a toll on the physical body. And if you have any empathic type abilities, similar to people like me, you can start to absorb and take on the feelings of those around you, even if you're not aware that you're doing this. And very quickly we can become overwhelmed. So the techniques of grounding and centering can be done by anyone. Again, regardless of spiritual path or religious belief, these techniques can be incredibly useful. So I'm just going to be showing you, the way that I practice this. And of course, there's lots and lots of different ways. And there is no wrong way either, which is what's so nice about these types of practices. I tend to like to go with methods that involve breathing and that are fairly simple and don't involve a lot of visualization. I find, for me personally, visualization is not something that just comes naturally to me. It's something that I really have to work towards, and I find it can be a little bit distracting. So we'll get on to the more practical side of this, where I'll show you first how to center and then how to ground your energy. So centering helps to delineate and define where our physical body ends and the rest of the world begins. And that sounds pretty esoteric, but as I mentioned, we are energetic beings. There's lots of scientific studies that show that, hey Malfoy, that we have an electromagnetic field that is generated within our own body. And because of that, this electromagnetic field is interacting with the electromagnetic field of your cat and the people in your family and the environment around you. So centering helps us to clearly define sort of boundaries for our own body. And one of the easiest ways to do this is something called a fourfold breathing method. And this is something that anybody can practice because we all have to breathe. And so, this method makes it really accessible and easy for folks. If you do enjoy visualizing, you can actually visualize the energy centering to a particular point in your body. So for some people that may be near lower root chakra area, or perhaps it's your solar plexus area. Go with whatever works for you. So for the fourfold breathing method, you're literally going to be counting to 4. And if you like using mala beads, this can be an excellent way to incorporate them into a centering and grounding practice, because every time you do one full round of the fourfold breathing method, you can then move on to your next bead. Sometimes what I like to do is just use my fingers as a way of counting so I don't lose track. So what you want to do, and often it is easier to close our eyes because we have distractions like cats and Queen Anne's lace and children playing at the house next door. So sometimes, closing your eyes makes these practices a little bit easier. So what we're going to do, and first I'll describe it and then show it to you, is you're going to breathe in for a count of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You're then going to hold your breath. And this is where you can, if you're a visualization type person, visualize your energy actually centering somewhere, and hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to exhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding again for a count of 4. And then you just repeat the process over and over again. Sometimes I find it's helpful to tell my clients to set a timer on their phone. If you're new to this, 1 full minute of this type of practice can seem like a lifetime. So set yourself a realistic goal to start. 2, 3 minutes. And then once you get really practice with this, and I encourage people who are struggling with their emotions, if you're feeling any anxiety, depression, stress, fear, overwhelming rage or anger over the current situation in the world, a daily practice incorporating some grounding and centering could really make all the difference for you. And so work your way up to about 10 minutes or so. And there's really no need to do it any longer than that unless you feel the need. For folks who are really in tune with the energetic energies around them, their own aura, and the way that they feel, they'll know right away once they're done. And it may be before that 10-minute timer. So again, I'll just quickly show you, again, centering. So we're going to breathe in for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. And then breathe out for a count of 4. And holding again for that count of 4. And this is where something like mala beads could really come in handy, so you can have something to focus on. Oftentimes when people talk about these exercises, meditating, grounding, and centering, they can seem really esoteric and out of reach because we're told to empty our minds. Well, in this modern day world, I can speak for myself as an example. I'm a herbalist, so I run my own business. I'm a homesteader, so I grow and can food. I take care of our home, so I'm a home manager as well. And starting in September, I'm going to be educating my son. This is a lot of stuff that's on your mind. And it can be really difficult to do centering and meditation exercises without the idea of what's for dinner popping into your head, or, oh crap, I completely forgot that novel study for my son, or, oh, I really meant to send that email to my client. These things are going to pop into your head. So forgive yourself when they do. And sometimes the physical act of having beads can give you something to focus on. So instead of trying to empty your mind, focus your mind on one thing. And in this particular instance, it's breathing and centering. So for about 10 minutes, you're going to practice that 4-fold breathe again, where we breathe in for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Releasing for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. And once again, holding for 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is next to impossible with Malfoy visiting right now. So now that you've practiced centering, and hopefully you've been able to do this for at least a few minutes, you'll feel that you've actually started to gather energy in an energetic center in your body. Like I discussed earlier, this could be your root chakra area or perhaps your solar plexus area. The act of grounding is to take any excess energy that our body may have. And when we are feeling strong feelings of anxiety, fear, anger, rage, depression, we often have excess energy. Sometimes we have a lack of energy too, and I'll explain how this can work for both circumstances. But the act of grounding helps us find somewhere to put that energy. And so once you have done your centering and your 4-fold breathing, and you can almost picture that extra energy in your body gathered in an energetic center, the act of grounding can be done by picturing yourself as a tree. And I like to use a 2-root system for my trees. So any excess energy that I have, and this is where a little bit of visualization can come in, but if you're able to feel things energetically, you won't have to see it, you can just feel it happening. You would direct any extra energy you have down into the earth, and you can go as deep as you'd like. I've read a lot of different books on centering and grounding, and some say you have to go all the way to the center of the earth. I think you do what works for you. So we've already done our breathing, and we're going to continue with the 4-fold breathing, but now we have a directed purpose of sending that energy down into the earth. And the earth is an amazing healer and has the ability to take on excess energy. But what's so amazing about connecting energy to the earth is if you're feeling depleted, if you're feeling chronically fatigued, and if you tend to be more exhausted when you're depressed. You can also take energy back up. And that's why I like the 2-root system. I picture energy heading down one route and then energy flowing back up the other. And this would be a continuation of that 10 minutes of centering breathing that we were just doing, that 4-fold breathing, where you would continue that breath, but now we're physically working on sending energy down into the earth and bringing it back up. Almost like you're creating a circuit between you and the planet. And is this potentially a placebo effect? Maybe. But I'd like to think that spending 10 or 15 minutes on yourself, focusing on your breath, is enough of a healing act in and of itself. And if you do have a spiritual path that you walk or a religious affiliation, you can incorporate prayer work and any other type of spiritual work that you do into your grounding and centering practice. And I'm just going to switch locations, and I'm going to show you another. If all of this seems far too overwhelming and I don't have time for this, I'm going to show you another quick grounding practice. It is effective. It's effective in a pinch, and it's effective if you do it every day. But I really do believe that connecting the breath work with this physical act of trying to ground our energy is vitally important. And whenever I do my grounding ascension, you can't really see it. I'm actually at what we affectionately call spirit rock. So I'm sitting on a rock right now, and there's nothing more grounding than sitting directly on earth. So I'm going to take us to a slightly different location, and I'll show you an alternative, kind of a quick fix method for helping to ground any of that extra energy that you're having right now. So I had a quick afterthought, and I'd already come inside, but remember how I mentioned the breathing? You could use like a 2-root approach like I do. Also really work with your breath. So when you're breathing out, that's when the energy is going down into the earth, and when you're breathing in, you're bringing the energy back up into you. So if you can't visualize, you can use your breath as a conduit for kind of manifesting those energies and working them in the correct way, because it naturally feels right to send the energy down while you're breathing out and to bring the energy back in while you're breathing in. I'm absolutely loving this new microphone and tripod that I have. And as I gain more subscribers and stuff, I'm definitely going to be investing in more cool tech like this. But I digress. I promised I was going to show you kind of a quickie method for grounding our energy. And this technique has become kind of trendy lately, and a lot of people call it earthing. And it's the idea that we're going to take our shoes off and we're going to have our feet directly on the earth. Now, if you can combine this technique with what we were discussing earlier, the 4-fold breathing for centering, and then the visualization or the energetic feeling of moving that energy down into the earth, you'll have a very powerful centering and grounding practice. And when my son is feeling overwhelmed, and he's only 7, but oftentimes he can be very sensitive to energies around him, and he can easily become overwhelmed. All I have to do is have him outside with feet on the earth. I haven't even gotten to the point yet of discussing breathing techniques with him, and I immediately see him relax and calm down. So, while this may seem simple and almost too passive, it really does have a powerful effect. So thank you so very much for joining me on this video. I know this is new content for me, but as I promised my Patreons and as I have talked about, I really do hope to incorporate some more spiritual practices, because it's something that I found has really rounded out my practice as a herbalist and has provided great benefit to me as a human being. As someone who has struggled with depression in the past, these techniques of meditation and centering and grounding and working with plants on a more spiritual level has been deeply fulfilling, and truthfully has brought a tremendous amount of healing. So that is my hope with this video, is that if any of you are struggling right now, that a tangible physical way to help sort of release some of that excess energy you may be having would be beneficial for many of us. So again, thank you for watching, and until next time, this is Correne from Spirea Herbs.